The Fantastic Four are going to be a massive fixture for the next several upcoming years in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Reed Richards specifically, supposedly, is going to be a huge part of what Marvel does going forward. And of course, he's played by Pedro Pascal. We've seen Marvel go all in when it comes to the marketing for this, for everything. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of seeing Pedro Pascal anywhere. This is on the cover of Vanity Fair. Everyone wants a piece of Pedro. Weird. Like this, by the way, this is for Vanity Fair. You got women's hands on him. You got big black man hands on him here.
What the? Is that's not an AI thing? That's real?
This is from Vanity Fair. This is real. But
the freak, that's gay. Sorry. Am I allowed to say?
Guys, Pedro Pascal is gross.
I'll Pedro again. And let me tell you, Marvel is having one of the, no, I'm not going to say one of them. It is the worst PR disaster we have ever seen for Marvel. So let me set the table for you.
Fantastic Four flops. It wasn't good. Hypothetically, how does Marvel move on from that? I know Spider-Man is now coming out before Avengers Doomsday, and people are saying that that's going to be kind of like their safety net, but I really don't think that's going to work. It's already known that Fantastic Four is going to be like such an important and detrimental part to the Doomsday and Secret War story. So if their introduction, for some whatever reason, doesn't land with the audience, I don't get how they can make Doomsday like, you know.
The Fantastic Four will be releasing in less than a month now. In less than a month. And do you know what Marvel is having fun with right now? Besides Pedro?
Working against the Fantastic Four. Between the reshoots, between the failed test screenings, lackluster test screenings to be very specific, and Pedro's politics getting in the way. And I think that the main one here is indeed Pedro's politics. But
the success it needs to be. By the way, I'm not trying to like prey on its downfall or anything. Like, I am genuinely super excited for the Fantastic Four. I'm just being real. Marvel has been doing flop after flop. Thunderbolts was a flop. Yes, it's like a literal fact. So in my opinion, it is reasonable to be concerned that this movie might not be good, or, you know, just might not perform well. And if that happens, like, what's next? We'd like to welcome back Iron Man, Steve Rogers, Scarlett Johansson, because we can't make anything else for it.
Reshoots labeled as problematic. There's been a lot of pushback going against this film as well. There's a lot of Marvel fans that aren't quite fond of the fact that they are using Shala Bal, the female Silver Surfer played by Julia Garner, well above the character of Norrin Rad. And that's just one thing. We also know that Pedro Pascal and his politics are not helping, and it's only getting worse from this point forward.
Okay, hold up. Did Pedro Pascal really just pause an entire Fantastic Four interview to break down queer slang for the press? Because that's not in the media training manual. But yes, it happened. We are now living in the timeline where the man playing Reed Richards had to explain what cunty means to Vanessa Kirby in front of rolling cameras while promoting a Marvel film. And honestly, it kind of rocked. The moment went viral in seconds, not just for the slang explanation, but because Pedro actually made it feel thoughtful, supportive, funny, sharp, and just like that, Marvel fans forgot for 30 seconds that the reboot is already drowning in controversy. From gender swaps to timeline chaos to, is Reed Richards supposed to be a hot zaddy now? Debates. But, oh, trust me, that piece was short-lived, because behind the charm and meme-worthy moments, the Fantastic Four PR tour is barely holding together. Pedro's crying on red carpets, clapping back at age-shaming, and quoting octopuses as intellectual icons. And the MCU, it's trying to look calm while rearranging deck chairs on a very expensive ship. Let's break it all down, because this isn't just promo, it's a Marvel masterclass in managing mayhem.
So I went to the Fantastic Four event in Berlin today. And excuse me if I look like crap, because I feel like crap.
So let's rewind to the exact moment this press tour flipped into meme territory. It's Sydney, a chill media interview. Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby are answering rapid-fire questions when the interviewer drops a word that made half the internet spit out their coffee, cunty. Now look, if you know, you know. In queer circles, fashion TikTok, and most corners of Stan Twitter, that word's basically the highest form of praise. Think fierce, think iconic, think walking into a room and owning it without even trying. But Vanessa? She looked like she just got hit with a pop quiz on a word she'd never seen before. The confusion? Real. The tension? Thick. And Pedro, bless him, didn't skip a beat. He stepped in like a pop culture professor, broke it down with a smirk, and gave the whole thing the energy of a Vogue ballroom runway recap. He literally said it means fierce, fabulous, strong, beautiful. Like, bro, who does that? And the internet lost its mind in the best way. Twitter was calling him Slang King. TikTok was slicing the clip into thirst edits. And every outlet from them to comicbook.com ran with it as the defining moment of the entire Fantastic Four press tour so far.
On the go since 7 a.m. and I'm pissed because that shit was not a fan event. Let me explain. So even like before the event started, the communication was horrible. Nobody knew if you needed a ticket because there was a site that gave out tickets.
But here's the thing. What looked like a one-off quirky exchange actually told us everything about how Pedro's running this campaign. He's not just answering questions, he's steering the whole vibe, taking awkward moments and spinning them into gold, making Marvel look human again. But if you thought that was smooth, oh, we're just getting warmed up. Because what happened next had fans crying, literally, Pedro included. Right after the viral slang moment made the rounds, you'd think Pedro Pascal would lay low and let the headlines cool off. Nope. The man said, "Let me give you another reason to talk about me." Cut to the Fantastic Four launch event in Sydney. Cameras flashing, fans screaming, and the whole cast looking pristine on the carpet. But then it happened. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, who plays the Thing, started talking about how proud he was to be working with this cast, how much heart and trust they've built behind the scenes. And Pedro? Full teary-eyed mode. Like, not staged, not Hollywood dramatic. We're talking raw emotion. His eyes welled up right there on camera. He tried to laugh it off, but the moment hit different. Fans noticed. The cast noticed. Social media definitely noticed. Protect Pedro Pascal at all costs started trending. People were making edits with emotional piano music, calling him Marvel's most lovable introvert, and praising how refreshing it was to see vulnerability in the middle of what's usually just a hype machine. And look, on paper, it sounds minor.
But nobody confirmed it, nobody knew about it. I signed up the first day that page showed up. I was pretty sure it was going to be a data scam, but I was like, it was free. And if I hadn't signed up, I wouldn't have gotten into that event. But nobody confirmed it. Nobody knew if it was legit. Not even the people who organized this event.
A guy gets emotional at a premiere. But in context, it was kind of major. Because this press tour isn't just selling a movie. It's trying to sell trust again. Marvel's been fumbling post-Endgame and fans are skeptical. But moments like this, they hit people where it matters. Emotion, honesty, actual connection. Pedro's not just doing interviews, he's creating moments, real ones. But with all the soft edges and touching stuff out of the way, you know what's coming next. Let's talk about the drama, because some fans still aren't buying what Pedro's selling, and they're not shy about saying it. So here's where things start heating up. Because while Pedro Pascal was winning hearts with slang breakdowns and carpet tears, a different part of the internet had a whole other reaction. Outrage. And not about the acting, not about the plot, but about Pedro's age. Yup, people really hit the panic button over the fact that he's 50 and playing Reed Richards. Apparently being a middle-aged genius superhero is controversial now. The takes were everywhere. He looks too tired, Reed should be younger, midlife crisis Richards. One user literally said, "Is Marvel casting the Fantastic Four or the Fantastic Retirement Home?" Brutal. And Pedro? He didn't go silent. He addressed it head-on in a recent interview. Said the backlash actually got to him this time, that he felt a little more sensitive than usual. Which, coming from someone who's seen all kinds of internet chaos, is kind of wild. But then he flipped the whole thing, doubled down on why this version of Reed matters. Talked about emotional depth, experience, wisdom.
What led the Disney company to engage in an emergency meeting to cancel multiple events for Pedro Pascal to drastically reduce his presence on television and on the internet. Now, in a very similar way, ironically to what happened with Rachel Zegler,
basically made the case that Reed Richards doesn't have to be babyface to be brilliant. And honestly, he's not wrong. The original comic Reed was always the brainy older dude with too many thoughts and not enough sleep. Pascal just added some flair, some fatigue, some I've seen stuff energy, and fans who actually read the comics, they know it fits. Still, the age critics haven't backed down. But the truth? Pedro's not trying to look young. He's trying to make Reed real. And maybe that's exactly what the MCU needs right now. Less polish, more truth. But then he took it a step further. Because you're not ready for what inspired his take on the character. Hint? It's got tentacles. So, just when you thought Pedro Pascal couldn't get any more eccentric with his take on Reed Richards, he dropped a bomb in an interview that made fans collectively blink twice and say, "Wait, what?" Apparently, Pascal didn't just study the comics to get into character. He studied octopuses. No, seriously. The man said he modeled Reed's intelligence after the brain power of an octopus, how they can think through their tentacles, multitask with their whole bodies, and solve complex problems in real time. And his logic? Reed's not just smart, he's multitasking level genius smart, like stretchy body, stretchy brain kind of energy. Now, Marvel fans are used to some wild metaphors, but this one took the crown. Some people thought it was genius. Finally, a Reed Richards who isn't just stiff and robotic, but weird and cerebral. Others were less impressed. Reddit threads popped off with people arguing if Marvel was turning Reed into some kind of deep-sea philosopher. One guy even said, "So we're getting Calamari Richards now?" But whether you love it or hate it, you've got to admit, this kind of creative thinking is exactly what's been missing from Marvel lately.
The upcoming Superman film, Superman himself has managed to take some shots at Fantastic Four first steps. Yup, he's making fun of Fantastic Four. That's what I'm gonna put in the headline because that's what all the articles are saying, because they need to manufacture, I guess, a rivalry, because you can't just enjoy both. We know you can't. One or the other. You can't enjoy both. And God forbid, you might be excited for Jurassic World. Not allowed.
Too many roles have felt like autopilot casting. Pedro's out here pulling from marine biology and neuroscience. He's not phoning it in, he's inhabiting the role. And if the Fantastic Four is supposed to feel fresh again, maybe that's what it needs. Actors who are a little weird, a little passionate, and completely unbothered by whether the internet thinks it's too much. But weird science aside, Pedro isn't just remixing Reed. The entire Fantastic Four reboot is taking a bold new direction. And what they're doing with the movie's setting, that's got fans more curious and more confused than ever. Alright, so you've got Pedro Pascal channeling octopus vibes. Cool. Unexpected, but cool. But now, let's talk about the actual direction this Fantastic Four movie is going. And spoiler alert, it's not what anyone expected. We're not talking modern-day skyscrapers and Avengers Tower in the background. Nope. Marvel is reportedly taking the Fantastic Four all the way back to the 1960s. Yup. Retrofuturism, space-age optimism, a whole vibe. The film is being described as this stylish throwback, almost like what if Mad Men had cosmic powers and quantum tech. The cast is reportedly styled in period outfits. The Baxter Building? Pure retro aesthetic, and Pascal himself confirmed it's meant to feel hopeful, with a focus on family, unity, and the emotional heart of Marvel's first family. And honestly, it's kind of refreshing. For a franchise that spent the last few years racing toward multiversal burnout, slowing things down, and going vintage might be the smartest move Marvel has made since Endgame. It gives them space to rebuild, not just with explosions and cameos, but with tone, with style, with actual character development. But not everyone's convinced. Some fans are saying the 1960s angle feels disconnected from the current MCU. Like, how do you drop a bunch of retro super geniuses into a timeline where Kang just hijacked all of reality? Others are worried it's just style over substance, another artsy reboot with no real bite. And with rumors flying about alternate universes, time displacement, and Silver Surfer gender swaps, the plot is starting to look less like a clean reboot and more like a kaleidoscope of ideas. Still, Marvel swears this is their reset moment, a return to heart, a return to roots. But if that's true, then why is the fanbase still so split? Because beneath the slick visuals and emotional speeches, something else is going on. So here's where things start getting murky, because while the front of the press tour is all smiles, memes, and red carpet tears, the backstage buzz tells a different story. Whispers from industry insiders say all is not well on the Fantastic Four set. Multiple reports hint that the script, still changing, even now, mid-production. Rewrites are supposedly happening between filming days, with new scenes being adjusted based on early fan response and internal exec pressure. And the vibe? Word is, it's tense. Now, this wouldn't be the first Marvel project to go through last-minute changes, but usually they keep it quiet. This time, it's getting harder to hide. Some cast members allegedly are frustrated. They signed on for a superhero blockbuster, not a script that reads like a thesis on modern society dressed up in CGI. One insider described the mood as walking on eggshells on set. And remember, this is before the trailer's even out. Meanwhile, Pascal is out front doing all the heavy lifting. He's not just the lead, he's the face, the voice, the entire PR engine of this thing. His interviews, trending, his comments, going viral. But with every viral soundbite, fans are asking, is Pedro elevating this movie, or is he distracting from what's really going on? Because let's be honest, when the press tour becomes the story, it usually means the actual story isn't ready. And Marvel knows this. That's why they're scrambling to spin every moment into a win. But it's only a matter of time before the cracks start showing, if they haven't already. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the backlash, the exhaustion, and the growing fear that Marvel might already be bracing for disaster. Here's the wildest part of all this. The movie hasn't even dropped a trailer yet, and insiders are already whispering that Marvel might be bracing for impact. According to multiple leaks and reports, studio executives have started quietly lowering expectations. Internally, box office projections have been revised. The PR focus shifting toward future projects. That's right. Before fans even see a single frame, Marvel's already preparing for the possibility that Fantastic Four flops. Let that sink in. This is supposed to be their comeback. The rebirth of Marvel's first family, the big reset button for the MCU after years of fumbles. And yet, everything about the rollout feels shaky, confused, scrambling to please everyone and ending up pleasing no one. And what's the fallback plan? Blame the fans. Blame superhero fatigue, blame online trolls, bad algorithms, or some vague cultural shift. But what they won't do is admit that maybe, just maybe, the chaos didn't start with the audience. It started at the top. Meanwhile, fans are tired. Not of superheroes, but of the gaslighting, the you just don't get it energy. The studio pretending that confusion equals depth, that weird equals genius, that backlash equals progress. And now you've got Pedro Pascal, talented, emotional, incredibly watchable, front and center in a movie that's carrying more baggage than excitement. He's trying to make it work, but he's not a miracle worker, not even with octopus brain energy. And that's the real tragedy here. The Fantastic Four deserve better than this. They're Marvel's original icons, the foundation, the spark that started it all. And if Marvel can't land this reboot, what hope is left for everything else? So here we are, months out from release, no trailer, no plot clarity, and a press tour that feels more like a reality show than a superhero campaign. Pedro Pascal is everywhere, charming, crying, explaining slang, defending casting choices, dropping sea creature metaphors, and yet none of that has fans feeling more confident. If anything, it's made the pressure worse, because the truth is, this movie has become a litmus test for Marvel itself, a test of whether they still get it, whether they can bring emotional depth, bold visuals, and real storytelling without drowning everything in buzzwords and narrative overcorrection. Whether they can stop chasing headlines long enough to build characters people actually care about again. And honestly, it's not looking good. The Fantastic Four deserves better than to be the studio's latest messaging experiment. Fans aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for respect. Respect for the source material, for the legacy, for the characters that meant something before all the branding and breakdown videos and forced viral moments. Pedro Pascal may be trying to hold this thing together with charm and tears, but Marvel's got to meet him halfway. Otherwise, he's just the face of another beautifully packaged misfire. So can it be saved? Maybe. But only if Marvel stops fighting its audience and starts listening again. Only if they treat this reboot not as an apology, but as an opportunity to actually get it right. Because right now, fans aren't mad. They're just exhausted, tired of being blamed, tired of being told, you just don't understand the vision. Tired of watching heroes they love turned into brand mascots. The spark is still there, the hope is still there, but Marvel's on the clock, and it's ticking loud. If they mess this one up, it won't just be a missed reboot. It'll be the moment the fans stopped waiting for Marvel to figure it out.